Many times before, fugitive slaves had found their way here, to him, to this modest office at 107 North 5th Street. This was the headquarters in Philadelphia of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society, and it was managed with quiet devotion and efficiency by the last man in the office at twilight on this early August day in 1850, the clerk of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society, William Still. On the other side of Still's desk stood a stranger, for whom this scene was surreal and even terrifying. The stranger had never seen anyone quite like William Still and was not sure whether to trust him. Still was a free African-American, respectable in his attire and demeanor, a man who possessed evident learning and authority. The stranger had spent his life in slavery and had fled the South, traveling 1,500 miles from Alabama, north to Philadelphia, driven by images of a distant past he only dimly remembered. The stranger had been encouraged by slave masters during his 40 years of bondage to fear abolitionists. The stranger introduced himself as Peter Friedman of Alabama, and he proceeded to tell William Still his story. Many, many years ago, as he explained, Peter and his brother Levin, then just young boys, had been stolen away from somewhere near the Delaware River in the vicinity of Philadelphia, kidnapped and taken as slaves to Kentucky. There they toiled for 13 years, only to be sold deeper south to Alabama, where they passed from master to master. Levin had died a young man, but Peter survived. Somehow Peter had convinced a sympathetic white man to strike a deal with him. The man would buy Peter and then permit the slave to earn money by doing extra work after hours and to buy his own freedom. And after Peter had earned the necessary $500, he left the South, determined to make it back to the banks of the Delaware, where he had last breathed the air of freedom. When he finally arrived in Philadelphia, where our scene is set here, after a long, harrowing journey from south to north, he was advised by the first friend he made there to post notices in the African-American churches of the city, telling his story and asking for guidance. So Peter Friedman had come to William Still on this August day, hoping that Still would help him with this, that Still, in his capacity as secretary of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society, would help Peter get the word out that Peter Friedman was trying to find his people. So William Still listened as Friedman explained all this. And then he asked, what were the names of Peter Friedman's parents? Friedman explained that he had been so young at the time when he had been separated from his parents that he didn't even know their last names. But he did know their first names. His mother was Sidney and his father Levin. Now this scene turned surreal for William Still, because these fragments of information, which had been such a fragile foundation for Peter Friedman's hopes all these years, carried for William Still the weight of revelation. Still understood as soon as he heard the words Sidney and Levin that a miracle had transpired. This stranger, Peter Friedman, was William Still's long-lost older brother. This is a true story that played out in 1850, and it's emblematic of the miracles accomplished by the Underground Railroad in its heyday in the 1850s. It worked to help fugitives escape slavery and also to reunite families in freedom.